Good evening. The Childress Chamber of Commerce would like to welcome you to the Candidates Forum this evening. We are pleased to sponsor this event and hope that you leave here with as much knowledge as possible about the candidates running for the different positions. First, we'd like to thank you, the voters, that submitted the questions for tonight's forum, and let you know that we had almost 40 questions submitted, both for school and city council and mayor positions. We would like to thank Marcia Meacham and her staff for allowing us to be here this evening and for the setup that they did for us. And we would like to thank the committee that worked on the questions. They spent right at 2 hours working on these questions. They took all of them, went through them. We had some questions that were duplicate questions or very similar, and they will have combined some of those, but we will give credit to all of the authors that turned in information for those questions. The committee was comprised of community members, Leslie Bruce, Gary Clark, Susan Keener, and Sheriff Mike Pigg. Board members for the Chamber of Commerce that were involved were Camille Cano, Glenda Cribbs, and Isabel Hernandez. We thank all of you for your service in that respect. I'd like to introduce the Chamber Board to you tonight, and if you are here, if you would please stand. President Lisa Campbell, Vice President Kevin Latimer, Secretary Isabel Hernandez, Treasurer Charles Hall, Board Member Camille Cano, Board Member Tam Cash, Board Member Amber Henderson, Board Member Glenda Cribbs, and Board Member Ginger Wilson. Thank you for your service and support of this event. I want to remind everyone this is a listen and learn event. You had an opportunity to submit questions, and so tonight you will get to hear the answer to those questions and what the candidates have to say about those. Housekeeping, restrooms are outside. We should be here. They're all wanting to know how long we're going to be here. Well, I don't know, but I would think we'd be through in an hour and a half to 2 hours. Maybe quicker for some. We'll go over some other items here in a few minutes, but the first person that's going to speak tonight is going to speak from the Childress Economic Development Corporation. This will be Bill Hasloff, a board member. Bill?
Thank you, Susan. I've got some short remarks I'd like to make, but before I go into that, there's one thing that coming over here tonight that I thought about. You know, it's very easy to complain and point fingers at people and say they're not doing their job. That's the easy thing to do. We can sit around the coffee shops and do that. The hard thing to do is doing what these folks are doing. They've taken the step. They put their name on the line. They're running for an office to make something in this town a little better. And for that, I applaud you and I thank you very much. I'm here to address about a situation that we've already passed once, but it went so well the first time, we're going to give you a second opportunity to pass it. Back in 2011, on the election, or that election that year, there was an item, a proposition, not worded like this one, but exact as this one, to change the Childress Economic Development Corporation from a Type A corporation, which we are right now, to a municipal development district. You ask why? In 1996, when Childress passed the election initially for the Type A Economic Development Corporation, that was all that was available to towns of our size. Since that time, the laws have changed and things have opened up as far as projects and what have you that small town EDCs can do. We met in 2010, we met down in Austin with the attorneys at TML and with the idea of having a vote change from Type A to a Type B. In the course of visiting with the attorneys there, they said, well, why don't you just make it a municipal development district? Not knowing what it was, we got them to explain to it. What it is, it helps towns of our size because it opens those funds up for things that we can do that otherwise we couldn't do. There was a sheet handed out to you. If you'll look at that when you get a chance, it shows what projects type A EDCs can have, and it shows what projects that municipal development districts can have. The thing that concerns me is the legalese on this. When you get to the ballot box, either May the 5th if you vote on election day, or early voting, which starts Monday, you're going to see a very wordy proposition. And I don't know if y'all are like I am, but if I'm not fully informed and I go to the ballot box and I see something that I don't understand or I haven't read through or been informed on, I will generally just not vote on it. If I do vote on it, I'll usually vote no, because I would rather, err on that side rather than pass something that I would regret later. So that's what concerns me about this, is this proposition, and it's going to be the only one you're going to see, but it is very wordy. So with that being in mind, I want to put one word in your mind: vote yes. That's it. Vote yes. Because what this will do, it will correct the problem that we had, the election that we had in 2011. For some reason, the results, it passed overwhelmingly, first of all, but for some reason the results didn't get sent to the proper place in Austin. And here, just within the last year, we've come to find out that they still had us operating as a Type A EDC, which we had not been operating as such. So this election is to correct that wrong. This is basically what we're looking at and what we're doing with it. So it's going to say words such as taxes, what have you. Nothing is going to change on the taxes. All we're doing is moving the same dollars from one place to another place. So with that in mind, don't look at it. And again, since it is such a wordy proposition, we're asking any friends, neighbors, what have you that you might be around, voice this to them too. It's very positive for our community. It's something that we need to continue functioning as. If you've seen some of the projects that we've been able to do as a municipal development district, the facade grants, which we work with Susan and our Main Street program on in downtown, where we're cleaning up some of the facades of the buildings, getting new paint put on them and what have you. The rendering of the new Visitor Center. Excuse me, I couldn't remember. The new Visitor Center is one of the projects that, if this fails, we will not be able to continue to do those kind of things. So it's very important that this project goes forward and that we do get it done. So don't want to linger any longer. Again, it's a very wordy proposition, but look at it, read it, and then vote yes for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. City, you will be heads. School, you will be tails. This will determine on how we do at the beginning of our program. Ready? So, we will go in the order they are. Let me say, the candidates are sitting in the order that they are on the ballot. Okay? So what did I say? City? Yes. All right, so the city goes first, so we're going to start with our mayor's candidates. They have 3 minutes to give their talk about themselves. First on the agenda is Carrie Preston.
Good night. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. This is very important, and we're glad that you're here tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Carrie Preston, and I seek the office of mayor serving the city of Childress. I love Childress, and it's the only home that I've ever known. I've lived in Childress for 53 years with my family and my 10-year-old son, Ashton. I work with my family in our family-owned business, Preston Insurance Agency. It is time that we as citizens take a stand and elect the most effective candidate that we can. The Texas Municipal League Mayor Handbook states, the mayor is expected to provide leadership necessary to keep the city moving in the proper direction. The city of Childress has lacked that leadership. This is one of the many reasons I am running for the office of mayor. We need a candidate who can and will help our city overcome great adversity. I am that candidate. I've had the honor of serving you as mayor for the city of Childress in 2005 and 2007. I've served as councilman for 4 years. During my term, I understood the receipts and disbursements of all public monies collected and spent by the city of Childress, and I kept track of what happened to our money. As mayor, I pledge to you to understand receipts and disbursements of all public money collected and spent by the city and keep track of what happens to our money. Read and understand all legislation considered by the council and insist that legislation is good for all of us, not just for some. You have the right to vote for the most effective candidate. I am that candidate. I believe strongly, more than ever, Childress needs our citizens to take their time to study what is happening. As we just mentioned, we had an election. They lost the results of those elections. They didn't get sent into the Secretary of State. That's one of the reasons. And the list goes on. During my term, we didn't have those issues. I will represent each and every one of you. If you honor me with your vote on May 5th, I will always be accessible, always listen, and always do what is best for you and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Sharon Blackburn.
I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. This is, like Carrie said, a really important thing, and I just want to thank you all for being involved in what's happening in our community. So I'm Sharon Blackburn, and I'm running for mayor. And when you think about mayor, you likely think about qualities that you believe a person should possess to take that position. Qualities like integrity, determination, strength, maybe critical thinking skills, most definitely leadership skills, but probably the most important quality that you may not have considered is courage. It takes courage to lead, courage to make hard decisions, and courage to create a new culture. In deciding to run for mayor, I considered a few things. Number one, will this be the best decision for my family at this time? Number two, do I have what it takes to lead the council to the best decisions? And number three, am I committed to this community to this degree at this time in my life? And after a lot of prayer, lots of consideration and discussions with my family, I came to the conclusions that number one, yes, my family is most definitely ready for me to take this next step. My husband supports me fully in my decision to take this on, and my children are at an age that they encourage me and they learn from mine and Chris's individual growth. Number two, I believe I do have the qualities that it takes to be a good mayor. And number three, I am committed to continuing on this journey as a leader in our community and want now more than ever for our city to continue its growth and prosperity. As mayor, I would strive to make a difference through making sure that current policies are followed, that new policies are made for the good of the whole. I will hold our supervisors responsible for following these policies and reporting to the council to ensure we stay on target for our budget. I plan to improve on some of our systems and establish a culture of collaboration and a positive work environment. I have a great communication with our current city manager, Kevin Hodges. Kevin and I get along very well. We see eye to eye on most things, and he is dedicated to making our city better. And I am dedicated to supporting him as being a great city manager. I think those relationships speak a lot We have to have continuity in moving forward. I know where we've come from, and although that there have been a lot of things in the most recent past that have happened that some of you may think that we've done a poor job, you know, there's a big learning curve to being in a position like this. And even though I have served for 9 years, it took a good 2 years to even figure out what was going on. So I feel that I am the best person for the job. And if you like and agree with the things that I've said, I'd ask that you vote for me. I want to be your next mayor.
Thank you, Sharon. John Preston. John is running for Alderman Place 3. He is unopposed.
Thank you all. I'm running because I feel a need in our community and believe that I'm the right person for the job. I hope you will have the same opinion and vote for me on May the 5th for Place 3 on the Childress City Council. I want our city to be a better place for all of us to live. We all want a vibrant community that's safe, welcomes economic growth, strives to improve its infrastructure, exercises fiscal responsibility, and builds community partnerships and continues to prove on our appeal to others. We must become a team of visionaries and find ways to continue to make our town a better place to live, think outside the box to find solutions for old and lingering problems. This is the Childress that I believe in, and this is the Childress that I know that we're capable of. And that's why I'm running for a seat on the Childress City Council. I appreciate your vote, influence, and support. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Next will be Joshua Johnson, Place 4 Alderman.
I'd like to thank everyone also for being here. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm married to Karen, who's here tonight. I'm the father of 2, Elijah and Samuel. We moved here in, I believe, it was 85, when my father was asked to manage Schooler Gordon Funeral Home at the time. It was my 2nd grade year. I graduated from here in 1994 and moved away for a little bit of college and then went to mortuary school. Came back here for 2 years in, I believe it was 1995, 96. Licensed. I worked with my father for another year and decided to move out and go to a little bit bigger city. And I moved to Dallas. I was there for 10 years outside of the funeral industry. I was in the semiconductor industry and did electronics technician work, which is where I met my wife. We decided once we married we wanted to have a family. I always enjoyed my upbringing here, and I thought it was an excellent community. I knew I didn't want to raise my kids in a large city, so we moved back here. Worked under my father there again for a few years, and Karen and I decided to purchase the funeral home. Been running for about 4 years, maybe 5 now, getting close to it. Anyway, I'm working on my 3rd term here. I've been on it, this is my 4th year I'm completing in the City Council. We have come an extremely long way, and like she said, there have been a lot of bumps in the roads, things that we've had to overcome, and I think we have. We have laid groundwork that I think you guys will see a tremendous amount of improvement financially, budgetarily, fiscally. We have one more portion of this budget cycle before we really see, I think, a large improvement, but I think everybody will appreciate what we've done. We have stripped the budget down to next to nothing to try to get it down so we can find out where we could cut. Kevin did an amazing job. He's gone through, completely rebuilt everything, really, and has built it from the ground up. He's surrounded himself with excellent personnel who have not only, I would say, met our expectations, but have far exceeded it, which brings me to why I'm seeking a 3rd term. I feel it's our duty to continue to support our employees that we have in place. We have a new chief of police, of course, now. I feel like that leaving now would be a bad thing. I think that I need to show the support for them and continue to back them so that way they can continue to improve this city. They're doing an amazing job. Anyway, please vote for me on for my 3rd term. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Running for place 4, Alderman as well, is Robert Bush.
Thank you. My name is Robert Bush. Originally, I'm from Nebraska. Moved here in 2012 with my wife, Misty, and together we got 3 children, Ashley, Sean, and Ryan. I feel that I need to run for C4 in the City Council to try to give a fresh start to, the city. I am on the fire department. I've been on the fire department since 2013, and I love this town, so I ask for your vote on May 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Running for place 5, Alderman seat, is Marino Rodriguez.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming tonight this evening. To give you a little background on me, myself, my name is Marino Rodriguez, and I've been a citizen of Childress for 60 years. So I have my wife, I have 2 children, Eric and Ryan. I have 5 grandchildren. And again, like I said, I'm working on my 3rd term. And like Josh said, I thought we've done some good things, and I think we're on the right track. And I hated to just to pull out things. And we got a new manager and like I say, new police chief, and we got some great employees. And when I first started out 4 years ago, that was one of my goals, that I care about people. I care about the citizens. I care about the town. And that was one of my reasons that I really run to, make sure to take care of everything, to take care of the town, or try to take care of the town and all the city employees, and really everybody, all the taxpayers and all. So, and that's why I'm running again, just stay on there and continue on helping. But I would appreciate your vote again on May 5th. Thank you.
Running as well on Alderman place 5 is Jimmy Don Slingwood. He chose not to participate tonight. We'll move to the school board. Running on place 6, Edwin Meyer.
Hello. It's good to see everybody tonight. I'm glad y'all came out. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I think most of you know me, but I've been in Childress County. I have connections with Childress County for all the way back to 1915. My mother and her daddy and stuff lived here in 15, and then her mother passed away, and they moved away for many years, and we didn't move back until 1960. But I moved back with my parents, and I attended Texas Tech and completed a Bachelor of Science and Agricultural Education. I have a teaching certificate, and I went into farming in '64, and I farmed ever since '64. And Joanne and I married in '71. And we've raised our family in Childress County. We lived in the western part of Childress County until '88, and then we moved down here. And our kids have all graduated, and we've had a good system. And I think a lot of the people of Childress and a lot of the county. And I told one of my classmates, one of my good friends in college a while back, that he'd never guess what I'd decided to do. And I said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, I signed up to run for the school board." And he said, a lot of people were wondering why I'm running for the school board. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, I know why you're running for the school board." He said, "Because you care." And I think that's very true. I care about all the people, the children, the teachers, the kids, the taxpayers, the whole county. So I appreciate your vote, and I'll try to serve all the people of Childress County. Thank you very much.
Running on place 6 of the Childress Independent School District Board is Tracy Lambert.
Good evening. As most of you know, I'm Tracy Lambert, and I'm seeking re-election for Childress ISD Board of Trustees, Place 6. I'm a local business owner, I'm involved in the community, and a proud Bobcat fan and mother. I have served 3 terms on the board, having served as board president and secretary, and proud of this district, its students, and staff. I am seeking re-election for many reasons, mainly because I have enjoyed watching the growth and success of our district over the past 9 years and want to continue to be a part of that. I also want to be able to continue to advocate for what is best for our students and staff. The #1 goal of the board is the education of our students and their long-term success. In our STAR and EOC exams, our student scores outperformed the average of Region 16 and the state. In addition, the campuses received several academic achievements. And UIL Elementary has won district for the past 11 years. Junior high has won district for the past 4 years and 6 out of the last 9. The reason our students have been so successful is because of our educational and administrative staff, which I believe is the district's biggest asset. And I feel that it's important to take care of our assets. We have increased the amount paid above base from $1,800 to an average of about $5,000. Another raise was approved in the April meeting for the 18-19 school year. In addition, we have given a Christmas supplement for the past several years, with the last one being $1,200 per staff member. The state minimum salary schedule stops for a teacher with 20 years or more of experience. In the last 3 years, we have approved this pay schedule to 30 years. I have also enjoyed watching our students excel in athletics and other extracurricular activities such as FCCLA, FFA, and band, with numerous teams and clubs going to regional, state, and nationals over the years. Students who participate also perform better in school, as grades have to be maintained, no pass, no play. These extracurricular activities help teach students important life skills like teamwork, dependability, and work ethics. I feel this is important to foster these activities for our students by providing adequate facilities so that they have a place to grow their talent. These are just some of the reasons I enjoy being on the board and feel like I work well on the board. I am a team player, which I believe is important to make a board run smoothly. Being a team member means that you listen to and respect your other board members. Voice your opinion, but also know when to put aside your personal feelings to do what is best for the students and staff. It also means supporting the vote of the whole board, even if it may not have been the way you voted. I voted against the purchase of the land. However, my fellow board members felt differently, and I fully support the decision that was made. School board behaviors, can I finish that sentence? School board behaviors affect student outcomes.
Thank you, Tracy. I need to remind you that Mr. Bush is on the volunteer fire department. He is on call, so he has taken a call. He may or may not be able to return. Seeking place 7 on the Childress Independent School District Board is Shelley Preston.
Good evening. Thank y'all all for coming tonight. I just want to first off say you're taking speech. My daughter Jenna's sitting right over there, and I'm telling you, it's very nerve-wracking being up here in front of all of y'all. But I do look out and I see so many faces and friendly smiles that I feel pretty comfortable. So I am running for place 7 for the Childress ISD School Board. I believe that education is tied to the vitality of our community. I graduated in 1988, right here on this stage, and was handed a diploma right there. I've thought about a lot about that today, that one of my great supporters handed me my diploma. So I really am encouraged by the thought that no matter what we do in our lives, we all touch each other's lives every day, especially in a small community. Having children changes your priorities, as I'm sure all of y'all know. John and I left in the 90s, and we were in Plano, and we matured. That's the way I like to put it. We matured. We had children late, and decided that it was never a question where we wanted our children to go to school. Our children, we wanted them to be here just like we had graduated and felt like we had a home to come to. This is our home. We love Childress with all our heart. I have been involved with the Chamber of Commerce. That was one of the first things when we came back in 2007 was serving the board for the Chamber of Commerce. That really was a learning experience. It put me out in front of people. I am not a good public speaker, so I apologize to you now for that. But when I began thinking about serving, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. I just felt like that this was my next step. This is what I wanted to give back to Childress. And when I got to thinking about it, all the organizations that I had been involved with were all centered around the youth. So I felt like that was my call. I felt like I wanted to serve the school board, and I wanted to provide and become involved and learn about the policies and learn the management of the school system. I want to be an advocate for the children. There's nothing been more rewarding to me than serving the elementary TPO and being a part of that system and being able to help provide and be there for kids. I mean, one of the neatest things is a child coming up to you and knowing that you're helping their school, and I want to continue to do that. And I would ask for your vote on May 5th. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Shelley. Running for place 7 on the Childress Independent School District Board, Ken Harris.
Thank you for attending. Susan, thank you for putting this together. Most of you know me. I'm a professional gambler. I do this in the Kirkland area. I have been for 40+ years. Prior to that, I worked for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company as a retail store manager, and then moved back to Childress County, where actually I live in Cottle County, but we are in the school district. Some of the land that my family farms has been in taxes in Childress, Kirkland, or Tennessee Valley for about 109 years now, so we are part of the community. I'd ask that you vote for me this time. There's a lot of things on our school system that I think needs to be changed. Transparency is one of the greater things, so a lot of that will be coming up in our questions. I do ask that you remember me when it comes time to vote. I will be your trustee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Now for the questions, and we will start with the school. On the questions, first question will go to Edwin Meyer. This question comes, it's the city, sorry. This question was presented by several. This was a combined question by the committee. Authors of this question were Susan Keener, Terry Keener, Don Dewey, and Kenneth Ellis. As potential CISD board member, would you support using monies from fund balance to make needed repairs and updates to existing educational facilities rather than obligating taxpayers to pay back monies borrowed?
Yes, I would.
Tracy?
Yes, but we have to, you're going to have to watch your fund balance. We do have some that could be utilized. I personally don't think we need to let our fund balance get down below $4 million, just due to the fact that you don't know what the state legislatures are going to do and what kind of unfunded mandates could be coming down. Our payroll runs about $1 million a month, so you're only looking at a 4-month window with that. And so, yes, but to an extent.
Shelley? We have a rebuttal from Edwin.
I served on the board from 90 to 96, and we didn't have the pleasure of a fund balance. We had to perform a budget that we could live within, and so this fund balance, yes, everything has went up a whole bunch, but it makes it awful easy to reach into that fund balance and justify that you need things when maybe if you didn't have money so easily accessible, it might not be as easy to spend it. But in fairness to the taxpayers, I think we need to not carry such a large fund balance.
Shelley?
Yes, I would be for any improvements to any and all campuses.
Ken?
Yes, I would like to see a lot of the improvements made to our campuses, but there's lots of ways of doing it. Fund balance is one way. FEMA grants is another. There's lots of things that we can do as a county, as a city, and as a school district to see that this investment that we're sitting in right now is improved, and also do away with some of the temporary schoolrooms that we have. Those by nature are temporary. Yes.
No? Okay. To the city, John, you will go first. And this is just for city council. I would like to know from the candidates what experience or education they have that makes them feel they have the ability to make decisions concerning the city.
I've been on...
Pick up your microphone, please, sir.
I've been on county museum boards, county historical commissions, not only for Childress County, but for Collin County and Dallas County. I've been appointed by the governor to serve on the State Historical Commission. During that time, we had numerous projects. We excavated the LaBelle out of Matagorda Bay. That was a huge construction project. We started with the first $50 million for the courthouse restoration projects. We did the Red River War project in the Texas Panhandle. I was chairman of Heritage Tourism, so I think that tourism for the future of Childress could really be a big money maker for our city. I've been involved with CASA, the Rolling Plains, that's court-appointed special advocates for children, and we just expanded to Hardeman and Ford counties. And I felt when I got on the position and after I served, I felt really good about it, and I felt that we made lots of progress and improvements not only to our county but to our state. Thanks.
Josh?
Probably my education is, I have 3 or 4 different associates actually. I don't currently have a bachelor's. I did serve on the Chamber of Commerce for 3 years as vice president, and past president. I have been running my own corporation business for about 5 years now. The education is one thing, experience is one thing, but my main draw is my Lord and Savior. That's what I pray. I'm fervent about it, and I hope that He gives me His insight and wisdom as to that. That's what I go to first and foremost, and then from then to start discussing. After I've had prayer and reflected on that, then I do try to reflect on experience, past history that I've dealt with. Again, this is my 3rd term. I have served 4 years already. I'm hoping for a 5th and 6th. We've done everything from the event center, as you guys know, to you name it. We've done a lot of things from building and construction to any kind of legislation you can really think about. But that's the main thing is I draw on my faith. Thank you.
Robert?
To be honest, I don't have any experience at all. This will be the first for me. The most that I can offer is a fresh perspective. I'm learning as I'm going. So, thank you.
Marina?
My experience is it starts at home really. At home you learn to do a budget, live with your budget, and if you have a wife like mine, she ain't gonna spend too much. But anyway, and like y'all said, the last 4 years on the city council has really helped me a lot, and we've made a lot of decisions, and we've done a lot of stuff, or done a lot of good stuff, I think, for the city, and but mostly that's all of my experiences from the house, city, and my job at AEP, American Electric Power, I've been there 34 years, so to me, that, you know, we do a lot of cutting, you know, a lot of budgeting too, so I get a lot of experience from there too. Thank you.
That's not for you two, sorry. Okay, we go to the school. We'll start with Tracy. This question is authored by Susan Keener, Terry Keener, Brenda Harris, and Mary Kappelman. CISD currently owns a property that is not being utilized by the school system. Are you in favor of selling or keeping the land? Why or why not?
Probably to keep it, but keep it leased out at this point. It could always be sold at a later date. I feel like we have potential to maybe need this land at a future date. The land out on 83 would be an excellent place if we could ever get decide to build a new FFA facility for the ag barn. That's kind of what we have in mind out there. And then somewhere down the road, not with this current school board, but somewhere down the road, another building may need to be utilized. The property out down from the school, the high school, is the perfect location for that. You know, 5-10 years from now, if it's decided that that's not what's going to happen, it can be sold. Land is always a good investment, and so I don't feel like at this point it's taxpayer dollars have been wasted.
Shelley?
I would be in favor of keeping the land as long as we are maintaining the land. I kind of have asked a few questions, and I feel like that is our future. And I appreciate the fact that the board is willing to invest something in land for us for a future facility.
Okay. Ken?
In 2015, we were seated in this auditorium twice. It was told to us that if the bond failed in 2015, that the property on 401 and 3181 would be sold. So I think that we should stand by that promise and sell it. But there's one thing that's happened. On April the 9th school board meeting, they voted to lease that property for 10 years. For 10 years, that property will bring zero to the school district. That motion and that vote to sell that property, or not to sell it, but to lease that property was made Monday night school board meeting. The signatures on that lease were also made April 9. There was a couple of us that was at that school board meeting. For it to have a signature on April 9th, that signature had to be made after the school board meeting. The lease on that property is for 10 years, for $12.50 a month, but the payment on that is to be with a fence put around it for $12,500. To me, that is not transparency. That is not a good deal. The promise was made to sell that property. It should be done. The property on 83.
Finish your sentence, please, Ken. Your time. This is your time.
All right. Thank you. I will have further issues on this later.
I feel about the same way. I think the promise was made that we would sell it. I do not feel it's a good investment. You know, it's way above the market. The land was purchased. I don't think it should have been purchased prior to the bond being passed. I didn't appreciate that, and a lot of other people that I talked to didn't appreciate that either. So I think I would vote for selling it if we can, because even at the lease that we have is a very poor return on the amount of money invested.
Okay. Tracy, any rebuttal? Okay. All right. City Council, second question from Isabel Hernandez. Will you make your decisions based on the information provided to you, or will you do this with personal friendships? We'll start with Josh. I will. Will you make the decisions that are brought to you, will you base those on information provided or on personal friendships?
The information provided, I think that my history shows for that. Is I've never been one that, not a yes man, I never have been. I've probably upset more than one friend in some of the decisions that we made on council, perhaps. Maybe even lost some friendships, perhaps. It is what it is. Business is business. That is my primary objective, is the business side of things. I'm not typically oriented towards beautifying and that sort of thing. We have other council members that do a lot better at that, have a better eye and a better attention for that. I focus on the business side of things. I want things to run healthy as a business, and I think when you do that, the employees benefit. Just everything just falls in line better. The morale stays up. We have to maintain that. So it's always based in an objective way, 100%.
Robert?
I base it on the information that's brought to me.
Okay.
I don't base anything on personal friendships.
Marina?
I would also base it on information brought to me.
Back to John, please.
I think on any decision that you make in a position where you have the public trust, that it has to be based on what's provided to you. I didn't, when I made the decision to run, I thought that I would probably lose some friends. And that's because I love Childress as a whole. I admire people in Childress. I think Childress has great opportunities ahead of it, and you can't do that just because of friendship. You can't make a decision.
Okay. All right. We're back to the school. We'll go with Shelley. Question 3. Question 3 is a combination of questions provided that the committee decided on. The authors are Amber Smith, Ginger Wilson, and Mary Dewey. Do you understand the role of the superintendent? Please describe that role.
I see the superintendent's role as the CEO of a company. He manages and puts forth the rules and requirements of our school district.
Ken?
The superintendent is responsible for seeing that the school system is run as directed by the school board. There's a lot of things that the superintendent can do that we, as a school board, do not have the knowledge of, but he should have experience. But the school should be run in a direction that the school board sees necessary to do it, and that would be as the citizens of Childress, the taxpayers of Childress, see the need to be done in a positive manner. The school teachers are the #1 asset of the school. Those teachers should be treated with respect from the superintendent and the school board. Without a good quality educational staff, then the students will not be leaders of tomorrow as they need to be. We certainly need some changes in our leadership in this country, and this is a good place to start. As they start with the teachers. The teachers are the #1 asset of the school. Without those teachers, you cannot present the students further into education.
Edmund?
I pretty well agree with Ken. I think the school board is to listen and formulate policy that fits the community and give direction to the superintendent. And then he gives directions to the teacher. We're not to run the school, but we are to formulate the policy that we want within the district to serve the people of Childress. And I would support that wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Tracy?
I'm in agreement with all three of these. He is the CEO. He is responsible to manage the day-to-day operations, and he has to administer the policy set by the school board, and ultimately he has to report back to the school board.
Thank you. Go back to the city. This will be a question that does include the mayors, okay? And we will begin with Robert. Are you willing to go through the city manager before offering any jobs to any potential employees?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Marina?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back to John.
Yes.
Josh?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I think it needs to be that. He does the hiring and firing, and that's in the charter. That's what he does. You saw an example of this with the chief of police. That's how we proceeded from there, was that he did a recommendation and then we approved. Yes, absolutely.
Carrie?
Yes.
Okay. Sharon?
I think it is the position of the city council to do all the hiring and firing. He is the CEO of the city. If he seeks the council's advice, then I think the council should be there to provide that. But the council has instilled lots of trust in the city manager. That's why we hired him. So absolutely, it is his job, and I would support the decision that he makes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come back to the school and we'll go to Ken. You were first. In December of 2017, most CISD employees received a bonus. Since pay increases impact retirement benefits, would you support a substantial pay increase for all employees? If so, how will you accomplish this with the current CISD financial position? Authors of these questions are Susan Keener, Terry Keener, Ginger Wilson.
Go back to March 17, compare that to March 18, the fund balance has increased by $1.3 million. The raise that the school teachers were given, $500, was on a $40,000 salary, was .0125. The superintendent had been given a pay raise of $5. There is money in fund balance. When the school went into fund balance for $100,000 to give all the teachers and the staff $100,000, that is very minimal. We have enough in fund balance to give the teachers a reasonable raise. Give them a raise that at least equals that is set by the federal government for a cost of living, which is nearly 2%. Superintendent was given a raise which was 3% above that. I think the school teachers, I'll go back to what I said earlier, they are the assets of this school system.
Edwin?
Yes, I think the teachers deserve a raise, and I think that, you know, a 2% would be good. And I don't know, you know, I'd like an explanation sometime of why the superintendent needed a 5% raise when the teachers got less. Thank you.
Tracy?
The teachers actually, would you take into consideration their step raise in addition to the $500? Depending on where they were in their step, it was anywhere from about a 2.5% to almost a 6% raise. And I do support a raise. Our teachers they're underpaid. There's no doubt about it. But to give them a raise out of fund balance is not being physically responsible for your money, because at some point, if you're utilizing so much of your fund balance for operations, what happens when you run out of fund balance? Are we going to have to take raises away from our teachers? We have to operate within a balanced budget.
Yes.
That's part of my point. If a raise was put in the budget at the first of the year, you wouldn't have to use fund balance.
Shelley? Yes, you have 1 minute for rebuttal for that.
Where's the money going to come from? That's the problem. That's why these raises, when we come in and we set the budget, it has to come from within our budget. If we don't have it inside the budget, we cannot be taking it from fund balance.
Shelley? No, you've had your rebuttal. Shelley? Shelley?
Not having knowledge of everything that I need to, these are items that I would want to research and learn and take guidance, if elected, from the board and the superintendent. I would always be for the teachers anytime getting a raise.
Okay. Do you have a rebuttal, Ken?
The $100,000 that the trustees voted
Ken,
April 9th.
your rebuttal is to Shelley, not to Tracy. Shelley is your opponent.
Okay.
Okay.
Rebuttal. I'll get it later.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the city. This is for both city council and for the mayors. We'll go with Marino first. Since you all work, how do you plan to balance the public desire to speak to you personally during business hours? And do you feel this is actually part of your job as a councilman or mayor to do this during business hours? I am the author.
Susan, yes, I think it is. My job is dealing with the citizens, the people, the customers, and the customers that I talk to every day are citizens and children. They're taxpayers, so when I go out on the job, I'm talking to taxpayers. I'm talking to customer and taxpayers, so yes, that's how I would do it. I would deal with customers and the public. Yes, I would do it, on my job.
Okay, let's go back to John.
I'm very fortunate to work in the family business. I take pride in our business, but I know that when someone comes in to talk to you about something that they have a question about, or they feel a need that needs to be filled, that I would be there for them. And if it takes work until midnight, I'm ready to do that.
Josh?
I'm in the same situation as John, family owned. Of course, run my own business. Sometimes I'm inaccessible because I am helping families or serving families and that sort of thing, but I have people stop by regularly. I had 2 in last week to discuss some things and that sort of thing, so absolutely shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Robert?
My phone will be available 24 hours a day, so I'd be there for them.
Okay. Carrie? I'm sorry, Sharon first.
I'm very blessed as well. My husband and I own our business, and my office is pretty relaxed. I have the opportunity to be available at all times. I currently am. I don't get a lot of traffic in my office like our current mayor does. His office is right next to an outside door, so he gets lots of traffic. But I would always want to be available. There is a protocol within the city for issue resolution, and that should always go through the city manager first and then be dealt with accordingly. But as far as visiting with the citizens of Childress to talk about issues or discuss something that concerns them, I would always be available. And I want to remind everybody that all of our city meetings are public and open to everyone. Everyone is always welcome to get the information that's shared in those meetings.
Carrie?
I as well work for a family-owned business. I can be accessible almost 24 hours a day. I will be glad to give you my telephone, and you can call me anytime that you would like. I'm open and accessible, and would be greatly appreciate your input on anything dealing with the City of Childress.
Okay, thank you. We'll go back to the school now, and we're back to Edwin. Author of this question is Ann Johnson. What are the current challenges facing our school board?
Well, I think we're pretty deeply divided over the bond issue, and I think we need to heal that up. And I think transparency and working together and prioritizing what we're going to spend money for and how we're going to do it, whether we're going to repair or build or whatever, is what's facing us.
Thank you. Tracy?
Would you read that question again?
I will be happy to. What are the current challenges facing our school board?
I agree to some extent with Edwin on we need to do some healing. We also, with just the way the state legislature right now has us funded, is causing issues, just financial issues. It's making it hard to be able to have a balanced budget. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry. So yeah, that's for me the biggest thing is on the financial side, wanting to be able to do more and not having the funds to do it.
Okay. Shelley?
I agree with Edwin. I think that one of the things is figuring out a way to devise funds for us to be able to remodel or renovate our schools so that they have a safe environment. I would like to figure out an answer to those questions, and I think some of the issues that were caused in the past has caused some trust issues, and I hope that people would feel like they would be able to come with me with their opinions.
Ken?
I think probably one of the greatest issues we have is we need to get our junior high kids back out of the temporary buildings. We have lots of ways to do that. Whether you realize it, whether you go through Quanah, Texas or not, you can see 2 facilities there that the total cost on those was $2.5 million. 75% of that was from FEMA grants. Those facilities, $2.5 million, if you add an increase to that, let's go $300,000, $3 million without getting any FEMA money. We could take that quickly and get that done. Those facilities will withstand excess of an F5 tornado, which is 200 miles an hour. They have 2 of them. If you don't like the facilities at Quanah, go to Spur, look at those. FEMA grants. You cannot get a FEMA grant unless you first apply for it. Under the Freedom of Information Act, the question was asked of the current administration for a copy of those grants. The answer came back, we have not applied. Thank you.
Shelley, rebuttal? No? All right, let's go back to the city. This goes to all candidates in the city, including mayor. The author of this question is Ginger Wilson. What do you, as a councilman, if elected, want to see the city improve let me rephrase that, so sorry. What would you do as a councilman, if elected, to help improve the city's financial situation? And we go to John.
Well, I think that the current council has really done a good job, from what I can tell by attending the last couple of months of meetings. I think that they really worked hard to overcome some serious problems that they had, and I think that you just have to, first of all, you got to know what's going on in the community. You got to know what your needs are. And once you figure out those needs and you get those needs addressed and put them in priority, then you just go from there.
Now we need to go to Robert because he is a challenger, so we need Robert to answer the same question. What would you do as a councilman if elected to help improve the city's financial situation?
I just like to watch the budget and watch the spending.
Okay.
Keep track of it all.
All right. Now we need to go to the mayors. Carrie?
Well, we are we do have some the city does have some financial issues. One of the main things that we need to do is make sure that we keep track of where our monies have gone and where they are going. That has been an issue in the past, and they are working on that, I understand that. But we definitely need to make sure that we are open and are able for the citizens to be able to follow where we are making our spending and receipts as well. I sure would appreciate any input on that as well. But it is an issue, and it's something that we do need to look into.
Sharon?
Well, I just want to say that we already have a plan, and that plan is already in action. Our main goal was to cut all unnecessary spending, and Kevin has done a great job when he put our budget together to literally cut it down to the bare bones. We are doing really well with our budget. We're actually under budget right now at 50% into the year. We need to continue to just stay on task. I think once you put a plan in place, just staying with that plan is really important. Holding our department heads responsible for helping us stay on budget and really looking at that in every single meeting, which we've been doing. We've been having department heads come and give us a quarterly financial report, and they are beginning to understand how we're turning this ship around. So they really see those numbers, and it puts a clearer picture in their head on what their daily tasks need to be and how they need to focus. Whether it's from a maintenance plan to, you know, understanding that we just may not have the money to buy that piece of equipment that they want, but just to only fill needs right now. So I think that's how we better the financial situation, that we already have a grip on it, and we are making that happen currently.
We go back to Josh as an incumbent for he and Marino. What are you currently doing to improve the city's financial situation?
For a long time now, we've got a lot of new people that we've put in staff. Kevin, Morrow, Glenn, there's a lot of people that have done that. They have set the groundwork for the future. We've helped them do that, but most of the work has been done by them. They have worked tirelessly. Again, that's why I'm trying to seek election, is to continue to support them to do this. A lot of the issues that have been brought up financially, like Sharon said, they're in our past. We have laid the groundwork. We have a budget on task. We are under budget. Our chiefs and our heads are more involved now in the budget-making process as opposed to being handed a budget. They're also being involved in the making of the budget, which I don't think has really been done prior, at least not to the extent that it is now. But again, this next year is only going to be improvement. There's no way to fail at this point in time with the people that we have. I have 100% confidence in all of our employees right now. They've done a tremendous job.
Marina?
You know, I always think we're on the right track since, you know, we've done a lot of changes, department heads, and, you know, Kevin's come in and he's done a tremendous job. And like I say, Morrow and Melinda, you know, they've kept up with a lot of the budgeting, and you know, we've cut different positions and added some here and there, and I think we're on the right track.
Okay. The next question is a little different. This question goes to all sitting up here. So we are going to start with Ken and go this way. There is a lack of transparency with some things that occur in the city and the school. What will you do to correct this? This question comes from the committee that worked on the questions.
Transparency within the school system, which I'll address because I know nothing about the city. But if you will request a budget from the school, from the Freedom of Information Act, you can see where a lot of your school money is being spent. I have a problem with the school buying products, maintenance products, from merchants outside the school, outside the district, outside the city, but yet they will come to those same merchants and ask for their taxes so they can spend them outside. It's not good. They also take from those employees of those businesses in town because that's how they earn their salaries. Transparency, you can look at things in that budget which was not completed. We have taken a school bus out of fund balance. Those things that was approved in the April 9th school meeting, the school teacher salaries was taken from fund balance. The money to buy the uniforms was taken from fund balance. The money to buy the security stuff was taken from fund balance. So fund balance, this school district or this school board has no relevance in the way they do business.
Shelley?
Again, coming into this new, there's a lot of information that I haven't been provided with, but I do feel that we need to be transparent. I've never had a problem anytime I've ever asked a school board member or the superintendent or any administration a question that I felt like I didn't get the response that I was looking for.
Tracy?
I think the school does need to do a little better job in trying to be transparent, not trying to be transparent to be transparent. We had talked about maybe quarterly state of the district brochures to go out to kind of keep people informed. Part of it too is, you know, our meetings are open to anybody, and that's really where you go when you're going to learn what's going on, is sitting in those meetings. But yes, or maybe even broadcasting, putting our minutes in the paper. But yeah, but the school does need to try to be a little more transparent.
Okay. Edwin?
Well, I'd like to see us go back to regular meetings on certain days at certain times. That way everybody, if they had something they wanted to check on, they'd know when the meeting was. I think we need to post our meetings a little better that way, and a little better minutes from the meeting, a little more detailed minutes. I've had several people comment that the minutes are not very detailed. Sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. But I'd like to see us do it regular, you know, have second Tuesday, a certain day to meet each month. And then if we needed to adjust it, we could. But we'd set out to have a meeting every month at the same time. And we presently have a policy: you have to sign up to speak to the board if you want to talk to the board. And I do. If a taxpayer comes to the meeting, I think he ought to have a right to address the board. You know, he doesn't, if he's ranting and raving, but just to ask a question or whatever. In the larger districts, I can see where that might need to be done, but in Childress, Texas, I don't think it needs to be done. And well, I'll quit there. Thank you.
Sharon?
Well, I feel like there's no greater responsibility than to make all of the actions taken by the city council transparent. The council's elected by the people, for the people, and as a council member, we make decisions for all of us, and they need to be in the best interest of Childress. I will just expand a little bit on what Tracy said. All of our meetings are public meetings. We have them on the 2nd and the 4th Monday of every month. We do try to put that information in the paper, although the paper comes out in a little bit different time frame than we can always get. Our 72 hours doesn't necessarily make it in the time for the paper. I know that we also present that to the radio station, so the radio station puts it out there as well when our meeting times are and what the agenda is. We also have a reporter from the local newspaper that's there at every single meeting and writes a very detailed report of what goes on in the council meetings. That's available. You know, those are for sale, and that's available to anyone that wants the information. It's definitely there, and as far as transparency goes, those things are available to everyone. We also have the minutes on record, and they are available to the public at the request in the city manager's office. So I feel that our transparency, even though I think that some may think that things that go on in...
Thank you, Sharon. Carrie?
Some of the issues I think that could be resolved as far as lack of transparency, I think if the city's webpage was updated, and maybe have a video taking during the city council meeting, put that up on the webpage so that can be viewed for someone who may be homebound or not able to make it to the city council meeting. Social media right now is all kinds of outlets for that, to be able to video and place those on there as well. So obviously the city council meetings are open for everyone, and we would like for you to be there. That's one of the great things about the United States and Childress, Texas, America, is we have those, and we'd like to have you there. But most of all, if you're not able to make it, I think it should be able to make it easier for you to be able to find out what is happening within your city and what is happening within your city government.
Marina?
I also think, transparency, we kind of, the meeting is open, anybody wants to come, and, kind of everybody held accountability to, they can do their, like say, show up for the meeting, and like the Sharon said, it's in the papers, in the radio, and, but as far as transparency, I think, everything's, if you show up to the meeting, and I think everything's there.
Robert?
I agree with Carrie that there ought to be like video and audio in the room where everybody that can't make it will be able to see it either on the internet or even open a TV channel where they can sit there and view it themselves.
Josh?
I know that a lot of the perception of not having transparency in the city for the past years has been brought up both to me, and I've seen it through other, heard from other people. I think a lot of people don't understand is at least I was sworn in early in my first term to deal with personnel issues. We had large personnel issues, and we have had some in the past. When we're dealing with personnel and contracts, we do that in executive, at least the discussion, and while we hammer out the details, and then of course we come out in general session and vote or discuss things. As far as our attendance from the citizenry, it is extremely low unless there's a hot topic going on, typically about personnel, something like that. We'd be lucky to have 10 people in there. So transparency, we've fixed a lot of that because we're not dealing with many personnel issues and that sort of thing. So we're able to stay out in general session and be able to discuss things in the open air. But we're going to continue to do as we've done, and I think we've fixed that already. I really do. We've limited our executive session down tremendously because we're not dealing with any personnel and contracts really for the most part. Thank you.
John?
There are really only 4 things that you can go into executive session for. Personnel, financial, it's boring money, what, don't blank on the other 2 right now. I think that those issues do need to be discussed in executive session. There's a lot of things that, not that you want to keep from the public, but you have to work out among yourselves before you can make a decision. And I'm all for transparency. I want everybody to know what's going on, but there are times that you've got to talk amongst yourselves and everybody come to a solution that's right for everybody.
Thank you. Okay, we're back to the school. Tracy? If you are elected to the school board, will you question the monthly financial report when products are purchased from out-of-town vendors that can be purchased from local vendors who pay local school taxes and support the school by purchasing ads and supporting the other school functions? Authored by Brenda Harris and Shane Harris.
Yes, and I know that is an issue. A lot of the reason we go through the buy board because we can get a cheaper price, and especially if it's over a certain amount, we have to go through the buy board or we have to go out for bid. We do, if we're falling down in that area, we definitely need to get better in that. But I think a lot of that is because we are going through the buy board and trying to maintain the cost of the school.
Shelley?
I would agree with Tracy. I would like to see at any time that we be able to purchase through Childress, someone that sells office supplies or whatever it is that we're trying to save on. But if that is the case that we're saving money, I'm all for saving money as well. We do not have an office supply here that we can. There's a lot of different organizations that purchase outside of our city. It's not just the school.
Ken?
Just a few months ago on one of the financial statements, there was a set of tires that were purchased outside of Childress. They said they purchased the tire, well, they're awful good people. But we have 3 facilities here in Childress that sell tires. And if they don't have them, they can have them overnight. On the last financial statement. And by the way, to get those, you have to go through the Freedom of Information Act, and you have to submit in a written form to the superintendent, and then he will give them to you. There was a product purchased from a facility in Altus, Oklahoma on this last one. Can be purchased right here in Childress. For the same amount of money, the facility in Altus delivers once a week. You can go right out here west of town and pick it up anytime. Those people pay taxes. I don't care what they saved. If it doesn't benefit the citizens of Childress, you need to look at that twice. We have merchants here in town. We've got plumbers. We've got facilities that you can buy plumbing products here in Childress. Number one, buy it in Childress if you can do it, because you don't get your taxes out of town.
Edwin?
I would be very much in favor of purchasing locally if at all possible, because like I said, when it's all said and done, you know, 10% doesn't make that much difference in the overall picture to me. I'd rather trade locally, even if it costs 10% more, or at least give them a chance to meet the price. Thank you.
Okay, back to the city. This goes to the mayors as well, so we'll start with Josh, is that right? Is that where we are? Sure. Okay, why not? Do you feel the current residential water and sewer rates are a burden for some in our community? If so, what is your suggestion for easing that burden? Ginger Wilson is the author.
Well, I'm sure it's a burden, especially for people on fixed income. Unfortunately, we're not at the helm of that ship. I mean, we are contracted with the Greenbelt Water Authority. They have been extremely aggressive in securing our water rights, which unfortunately means that we have to deal with that debt. It's in the millions. We have tried to keep it down. We've tried to also slowly increase over time, where a lot of municipalities haven't done that. You're about to probably start seeing some increases in some of these other cities that are quite rapid. We have identified an issue with our commercial, that we found that our commercial rate was not up to standard whatsoever, and we've begun to adjust that because we felt that too much of the burden was put on the residents, residential as opposed to commercial. So that's what we've kind of done, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot we can do in order to subsidize that or bring that down when we are taking care of a debt. We're in a co-op. It's going to be a continual debt, because by the time you get infrastructure fixed, you have other problems. We have water rights now. People need to understand that this is an investment for our children. This is not for times now that we need to be sure that our children will have water in the future, and this is, unfortunately, there's an expense to that, a huge expense to that. I believe to lay the pipe is $1 million a mile, which Greenbelt Water Authority has done a great job, I think, of trying to keep that in-house instead of contracting that out in order to keep those costs low. But
Tom, thank you. Robert? I can, yes. Do you feel the current residential water and sewer rates are a burden for some in our community? If so, what is your suggestion for easing that burden?
It is a burden for a lot of people. I mean, there is a lot of youth on fixed income. I would like to see it come back down from where it is. Just I'm not sure how to do it. So,
Marina?
Yeah, I'm sure it is a burden for the, people on fixed income, but, like Josh says, we're kind of at the mercy of the Greenbelt Water Authority, so, we've worked on it, and we've tried, and it's just, for now, I know it's a burden and everything, but I think we may have to, in the future, maybe work on it, but for now, it's just going to stay that way.
Okay. Back to John, please.
I'm sure everyone on fixed income has a difficulty paying their water bill. According to law with everything else, everything has gone up. And I think that's just the world that we live in now. And since we don't have Childress by itself doesn't have its own water district, I feel pretty sure that Greenbelt's our best route to go and stay with.
Carrie?
We are very fortunate to be in the Greenbelt Water Authority system. There have been issues throughout the years, and I'm sure there always will be in the future as well. Water is going to be one of the main issues that is going to be affecting our citizens. Especially with not having any rain right now. We know Greenbelt has drilled some wells, and with water rights, I do believe that was the right direction to go. But I would be willing to look at anything that the city can do to lower the water rates.
Sharon?
I like this question a lot because we talk about water probably more than we talk about anything else. Water's the number one thing that we as humans all have to have. We can't live without it. It costs money. It costs money to find it. It costs money to get it to where we need it to be. It costs money to maintain our infrastructure for it. We're very, very blessed to have good water. We live in an area where we're lucky to just have the supply that we do. A lot of places around us, even as close as Vernon, they don't have that same luxury. So it's a blessing. We're not excessive in our water rates. And I understand that that people that have lower incomes and people with fixed incomes, it may be a burden, but it's not the intention of the council to make those rates any higher than they need to be. The rates that we currently charge, they cover our cost and they cover the maintenance and the luxury of having the water that we do. So I believe that we have made very good decisions in setting the rates for our water and sewer to continue to maintain the infrastructure that we have. We have to be able to get that water to you, and we have to look at those costs when we're considering the water rates as well. So I believe that we're in a very good position as far as our water rates are.
Okay, thank you. Back to the school. Shelley? What is your vision for education of the students of Childress ISD? Author, Janet Ward.
My vision would be for us to be able to continue on the academic levels that we currently are on right now. All of our campuses, the junior high and the elementary, they're all have one district, and we also would, I would like to see, and I'm not sure if this is part of that question, but I would like to see some things implemented in our school district to help maybe vocational jobs and trade schools, something to help further education of the ones that maybe aren't college material.
Okay. Ken?
I'll agree with Shelley on the fact that it would be good to have more technical training for mechanics, for things that the kids are going to be using when they get older. Not all of our students are college material, so they need to have some of that basic training. I think the number one thing that our teachers need is to be respected by the community, respected by those that are in authority above them. They need to be compensated for what they've done, and they need to be supported. Pat them on the back when you see them. We have good teachers in Childress. You can tell that by looking at the academic awards they have won. We just need to keep them.
Edwin?
Well, like I said, I'd like to see us have the best school we possibly have, but, you know, I agree with these other two. There's been some requests for, you know, other skills like welding and mechanics and stuff. There's other people that's interested in, you know, things besides going to college. Not everybody's going to college. Not everybody's going to get a scholarship. We need to tend to the basic needs of education and do the very best job that we can for the community.
Tracy?
I really can't expand any more than what these three have said. They've pretty much said it all, other than the fact that we do right now offer several career and technology courses, and so we are helping those kids who are not college material.
Who are those with?
I'm sorry.
What campuses are those with that you expand?
Those are on high school.
And to where do they go to get the additional education?
No, they're part of their classes during their daily regular periods.
With Clarendon College?
And part of them with Clarendon College, and then part of them, like Mr. Johnson's classes and Mr. Novak's classes, do that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, back to the city. Robert? Author of this question is Ginger Wilson. Do you feel CRMC, Childress County, and Childress ISD have an obligation to help the city pay for the mandated wastewater treatment facility upgrades? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. You know, I believe everybody should be involved in trying to get them things updated. I don't think it should just be held on, you know, just the residents or something like that.
Marina?
Yes, I also agree with Robert, but you know, the waste sewer plant, the west one, it does you know, it benefits the TxDOT, prison, and you know, a few houses out there, but yes, I do agree that they should maybe pitch in a little bit and help. And I think as we move forward, I think that's kind of what we're anticipating now. I think we're kind of trying to help out some, so yes, I do agree.
Okay, back to John, please.
That's a good question. Without all those entities, Childress isn't much. You have to have the hospital, you got to have the county, and you got to have the city. And TxDOT, too. Those were the really big, where most of our payroll comes from. And I think that if they're willing to help, I think the city should accept that.
Josh?
I think as a last resort, we had posed this question, or at least in some form or fashion. I believe the mayor had approached at one time to discuss some of this with some of the entities. After reviewing some of the things, and of course upon Kevin's advice, we've realized that we might be able to do it, at least start this and get it going without involving too much. The county was nice enough to help us in hauling dirt from one hole that we're digging and placing it in the other hole on the west side of town, from dump ground to this municipality, the wastewater thing, the system over there, which we have really appreciated. We think we've fashioned a way in order to at least get this taken care of for the most part. So hopefully we won't have to involve that. We did kind of stop that for now as far as the request for assistance, but in the future, you know, depending on how this project goes, it is in the multi-million dollars. And if we find out that we may need help, then we might have to, but only as a last resort, I think, at this point in time.
Okay. Sharon? I will. Sorry. Do you feel CRMC, Childress County, and Childress ISD have an obligation to help the city pay for the mandated wastewater treatment facility upgrades? Why or why not?
I don't believe that those entities have an obligation to help the city take care of the wastewater facility plant on the west side. And my reason for that is that each of these entities collects taxes, and those taxes are for the purposes of that specific entity. The city owns that land, owns the operations of that land. I think it's the city's responsibility to use our tax dollars and not try to figure out a way within our budget to make that happen. I think it is absolutely amazing that the leaders of those four entities were willing to come together and talk about the problem and try to find a solution. Jane Maiden with the county was very giving and willing to help. They have offered their help in hauling. The way I understand it is in our landfill we have dirt that is the kind that we need to line the what do you call them? The pits. It has clay in it, and that's what is used to line the pits, and they are willing to help us haul that, which is it's thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work. Working together as a community like that is what we need to do. I don't think using the taxing dollars from the different entities to benefit one entity is what we need to do. I think we need to find a way to make our money work.
Carrie?
I would think asking the county and Childress Independent School District and CRMC would be a last-ditch effort. I do believe the city has the means to be able to correct the situation and be able to use that West plant to its full extent, because it sure is a big benefit for us to have that. And if it came to the situation, we might look into it, but I feel like the city could do without having to go to those entities.
Thank you. School, I'm going to ask you this question, and then if you feel like you need to respond, you basically answered this question a while ago unintentionally. So if you feel like you've answered it, we'll move on to the next one. As a potential CISD board member, would you support a curriculum which would prepare students not planning to attend college to be better prepared for vocational opportunities which might be presented locally? You feel like you've answered it? Okay, we'll move on to the next question then. To the school board. We start with Ken. Currently, CISD has one SRO, a school resource officer. The position is shared by CISD and the city police department. From CES, the elementary school, to the Childress High School is just over 1.5 miles. The theory, as I understand, is the officer works for the school during school hours. If needed by the city, they revert back to the city for the time needed or during non-school hours. Do you feel this arrangement is adequate, and do you feel one SRO is adequate for the CISD campuses and students? I am the author.
Of course, each one of us as parents, grandparents, even those that just have nieces and nephews in the school system, are all concerned about the safety of our school system. As far as having one officer scattered, I'm not sure that that's probably the best answer, but I don't know that cooperation with the city on the PD would allow them to have PDs that could be police officers that could be shared. I would say that would be up to an arrangement between the city and the school if that could be possibly be done. One thing I want to comment on is the bullying in the school system. Marsha Meacham has a very good way of handling that. Sometimes just stop and visit with her. She has handled that most professionally on more than one occasion.
Edwin?
I don't think I'm well enough versed to know what's going on the campuses, what besides the police officer. You know, I think there's some other things that's in place. So with that little more information, I don't think I'd make a good decision.
Okay. Tracy?
I think currently the one SR officer, we can make that work. I think we need to change the arrangement, and I think that SRO officer needs to come under the umbrella of the school and not be an employee of the city, so that we have them full-time available all day in any activities we have. And with the additional securities that we have in place, with the doors now being locked and the security cameras, and we've last Monday night did vote to change the camera, that when someone dings the bell wanting in, they used the secretaries just had little monitor to look at. Now it's going to come up on their computer screen, so that they have a full picture of who's there. And so I think with the other security measures we have in place, that one SR officer is sufficient.
Okay. Shelley?
I personally love the fact that there's an SRO officer at the campuses and that they move from campus to campus. Our kids' safety is the most important thing to me. There is nothing like hearing those sirens go off and see the police head that way. I have heard about the new things that the school has put in the works for the security, and that is also comforting. They are always updating security, and they've also taken the lead on several things, and we have weapons, you know, if we want to call them weapons at the school, and different teachers, faculty that have access to those, and I feel very comforted. I hate the fact that they have to wipe our children's nose and protect them like that, but I am all for that. Ken mentioned bullying, and I am 100% against bullying. That is something that just should not be allowed, no matter if it's my child or your child or whose child. I'm just against that.
Okay. All right, back to the city. Reno, this goes to all of the mayor and council people. What do you feel are the top 3 pressing priorities for the city as of now? I am the author.
Oh, right now, the top would probably be the sewer plant, the dump ground, and probably the I would probably say the seed equipment.
John?
I would say one pressing issue is the event center. I think the event center needs to be finished just as soon as it can. And then I agree, the landfill and the sewer plant.
Josh?
The sewer plant's the #1 because we are under, state on that. That's a hard deadline, a hard timeline that we have, and they've been more than understanding and accommodating to us on more than one occasion over the past decades, actually. Probably the second would be staying on our budget 100%, continue with this progress that we've already made, and to continue on that. And then the dump ground is our next, probably hardest deadline coming up, is getting that completed so that we're in compliance, we stay in compliance with it.
Robert?
No, I agree. The sewer, the landfill, and the budget.
All right, thank you, Sharon.
This question's pretty easy when other people have already answered. Yeah, obviously our sewer plant is our biggest priority. It's where we have to really focus all of our energy now because we are under a very tight deadline, and we've got to get that done. I agree with Josh. Our budget kind of comes over all of it, but our budget is what we're focused on, and we want to make sure that we do everything that we can to stay in budget and spend responsibly. I believe that our infrastructure is a very big priority for us. We have a very aging infrastructure, both in our water system, our sewer, and even that kind of goes into our dump ground as well. We have to have a new pit. And I don't know if y'all go out to the dump ground very much, but it's pretty eye-opening when you go out there. I believe that there's a lot of details encompassing that. Recycling needs to be a big priority for us. We're making a huge footprint, our town is, and I think there's a lot of change that we can put into place to make some corrections on how we're utilizing that dump ground. So those are the things that I feel like are our top priorities.
Okay, Carrie?
I agree that the sewer plant is a big top priority. The longer the issue goes on without it getting fixed, fines are involved, and we definitely don't want things like that. The landfill is, as we all have mentioned, is really a big priority, and it always has been. As we grow, the use of the landfill will grow as well. I agree with Sharon. Our budget and keeping an eye on our monies and how our monies are spent and tax dollars are being put to good use is definitely the way that we need to go in the future.
Thank you. Just a word to the audience. We have about 30 minutes left. Okay, and I know you're thrilled to hear that too. All right, to the school, and let's see, we got a Tracy. Question: what is your knowledge of current school financing, and how would you propose to pass a balanced budget while adding to the fund balance as has been done in the last 5 years? Author, Lori Davidson.
Read that one more time, please.
Okay. What is your knowledge of the current school financing, and how would you propose to pass a balanced budget while adding to the fund balance as has been done in the last 5 years?
Well, at this point, I don't know that we're really trying to increase fund balance. And it's getting harder because our funding keeps getting cut from TEA. You're not.
What is your knowledge of current school financing, and how would you propose to pass a balanced budget while adding to the fund balance as has been done in the last 5 years?
Okay, yeah, again, we're not trying to add to that fund balance. And so Karen gets the template, she works it up, based off her ADA, it determines what our funding will be for the year, along with what we get from Twyla down at the appraisal district, so we kind of have a ballpark on the property taxes. Your salary is about 75% of your budget. It's set, we know what it's going to be, and the rest of it, as far as trying to maintain a balanced budget, is just you just have to work the numbers. Sometimes things get cut, sometimes they don't. And it's a while ago, the reason that we were able to give the teachers the raise this year is because of the template, and it looked like we're going to get a little extra money this year. So we're adding to their salary, but we're still going to hopefully have a balanced budget.
Okay. Shelley?
Not knowing some of all this information kind of hurts a person, but I will let you know I am willing to learn and be a sponge and soak up every information and figure out what it takes to balance the budget.
Ken?
If you'll go back into the minutes from the past school board, go back the past 12 months and look at how much time they've spent preparing a budget, very minimal. You get a copy of that budget and you can do it. It's from the Freedom of Information Act. You just have to prepare the necessary letter to the superintendent to get that done. But if you'll notice, in August, the budget that the system is now working under was improved in 15 minutes after lunch. You get a copy of that budget and there's no detail to it. We bought a bus, we went out of fund balance because the budget was not prepared on what the school system would need for the fiscal year 17 and 18. You can't prepare a budget if you don't know what to put in it.
Edwin?
I plead the fifth. Like I said, I'm sure there's lots of things going on, and I'd have to find out exactly what's going on and be exposed, but I agree that we need to have a balanced budget, and we need to put a little more thought into what we're doing and research the figures better. And I need to be brought up on the what funds held are used for also, I'm not privy to enough information. I've got some opinions, but I might change them after I got all the information.
As we all do.
It's not the board's job to prepare the budget. It's the board's job to approve the budget. Karen spends countless hours preparing this budget. It's not a 15-minute process.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving back to the city, and we go back to John. This is a two-part question. How would you like to see the CEDC move forward in Childress, and what project, if any, do you feel would benefit the entire community? I am the author.
Well, I mentioned the event center. I think that should be the top priority instead of to get the event center finished. I think the event center has a lot of opportunities for our town, and I think people could enjoy it more if it was finished and landscaped the way that they had originally intended.
Okay, Josh?
Well, to proceed as a municipal development district, hopefully if everybody votes that so we can continue. To me, one of the biggest things and the most important things that I've seen the CEDC do is going to be the facade grant. I think that's huge. We are a nationally recognized and state recognized Main Street city. I've seen huge improvement. It's pretty nice to be able to drive through there and not see dilapidated buildings and that sort of thing. It's my understanding that there may be a consideration for even sidewalk grants so we can become ADA compliant to be able to help with that, because some of our sidewalks are extremely tall to get up on. Event center, finish up, we do have cosmetic, we have signage, things like that that need to be completed, but those are the three things that I think.
Robert? That you answered, what were the projects?
I would like to see the event center finished as well.
Marina?
I would too, the event center finished, and like Josh said, the soccer ranch downtown, it has made a difference. You know, it looks a lot better down there, but those are some things that they could really work on.
Okay. Carrie?
I'd like to see us vote yes for the upcoming economic development election that we have. It benefits all of us greatly. It benefits our downtown. Millions and millions of vehicles, folks traveling through 287 and along 83 come through there. And by voting yes, we can have a lot brighter future to be able to get those folks to come in and stop and spend their money with us. So that is one of them. I will agree with everyone. The event center is another issue that does need to be taken care of. It does have a lot of great opportunity if we do get it finished. And I'm sure it hurts us some with it not being finished. So I believe that would be one of the great things for us to finish for our future.
Okay. Sharon?
I believe the most important thing that you'll vote for in the May 5th election is this proposition. No matter who wins any of these races, this money is the most important thing really that Childress has going for it. If you'll look at this little ad that I created, it can fund park and event centers. Well, that takes care of the issue that's being spoken about. It funds entertainment and tourist facilities. I was asked this week when I was the program at Rotary what the city had kind of in store for something fun and entertainment, something for children. The EDC can fund things like that. It doesn't have to come out of the city budget. Affordable housing projects are an option when we vote this in. So there are lots of things that this money can do. Without voting yes, without this passing, we can't use the money for any of that. So what's my favorite project that we do? It's absolutely the revitalization of downtown. I think that that's really important. I think that the improvements that are going on in the downtown, and Susan has asked that go out to 287 as well, so the funding could really help the looks of our community, and that's what people see when they drive through here. So I think that's the most important project that I see the money going for immediately.
Thank you. Back to the school. I'm lost. Are we with Shelley? Okay. Shelley, aside from being a taxpayer, in Childress, how are you currently and actively involved with the Childress Independent School District, including volunteering, extracurricular activities, relations with administration, school staff, and students? Author, Lindsay Whitaker.
I really like this question. When Jenna started school, I became a room mom and really just took off from there. I became involved with the Childress Elementary TPO, which became my passion. I love every second that I have spent on that campus, and I have made such great friends and the colleagues and the faculty, the cafeteria workers. I mean, all of them. They are just amazing people, and I've had the privilege to be around them. I've been able, I actually put a number together just the other day. I thought, you know, I wonder how much actually being involved with the campuses that I have been able to help fundraise with, and I was really surprised that it was over $70,000 that I had been able to be involved and help our school in some way, either through elementary, through the book fair, muffins for moms, donuts for dads. I mean, it's being, having the interpersonal skills that I have good people skills, and am able to work with others really well.
Ken?
you would please repeat the question.
I will, yes, sir. Aside from being a taxpayer in Childress, how are you currently and actively involved with the Childress Independent School District, including volunteering, extracurricular activities, relations with administration, school, and students?
Well, when she took taxes out, she took me out.
Edwin?
Can I rebuttal?
Yes.
Something else I would like to add. Another passion that I have is the Palace Theater, as most of you know, and voting for the proposition on May 5th.
I'm sorry, that's not part of this question. You'll have to.
Well, through the theater
Okay.
is where I'm headed with that, but the theater side of the Palace, which we use these facilities, we're allowed to have our plays. And I just really feel very strongly with the Palace Theater and the alliances that the school district provides for us, even along with allowing us to use the high school facility as well.
Okay. Edwin?
Well, I'm not real actively involved with the school either, but I'm beginning to be as a first grader's grandparent, so there are things maybe picking up, you know. But anyway, you know, our biggest interest is the kids, even though we're not actively involved. We do hear things from our friends and neighbors and about what's going on, what's good. Thank you.
Tracy?
Of course, when my child was in elementary, I went on many a field trip on those lovely yellow dogs, as they were so called. But currently, I am active in the boosters, and then with Rotary, we interact with Greenbelt Bowl, and then also with the perfect attendance for the students.
Okay, thank you. Back to the city, and we are with Marina, is that right? Okay. This is a two-part question, so I'll ask the first question, and all of you, including mayors, will answer the question, then we'll come back to the second part of the question. What is your understanding of improvements needed to complete the event center so it is a more marketable facility to livestock equine events? Author is Leslie Bruce. What is your understanding of improvements needed to complete the event center so it is a more marketable facility to livestock equine events?
Well, I think my understanding is pretty much completed. I think just like the signage and the outdoors, the grounds, but as far as the arena being complete, I think it's all been completed pretty much.
Okay, John.
I don't know if there's any camper hookups, but I think that would help.
Okay, Josh.
I know RVs hookups have been included, but I know we've also attempted to get stalls, multiple stalls. I know that that's been a huge issue, and it can also be a nice revenue stream into that. I know they've also been working with the dirt, trying to get that mixed in to continue to improve that to the quality that I think that all the different associations just expect. We do have signage that we need to do. We do have some cosmetic things. I know Leanne on our council has multiple times brought up the fact that she would like to have rock that we had originally had in our plan along the bottom, especially where you see where the dirt was splashing and it's kind of staining the edge. It's not as much of an issue now that we have the millings down, but it is still there and present on the wall, so we have things like that as well. But I know some of them are cosmetic, but I think our biggest things are going to be the RV and the stalls in order to get the larger rodeo and equine and that sort of thing associations to come participate.
Okay, Robert.
Yeah, I agree. The cosmetic, the RVs, and the signage is basically all I can see over there so far. It looks like everything else is complete.
Okay. Carrie?
Whatever the issues are that are preventing any type of equine events do need to be finished. That is a great opportunity for the city of Childress. I don't have the figures on how much it is a year, but it is something that we certainly don't want to miss out on. And whatever needs to be done to finish that, and we need to have that finished so we can have the equine events here at the event center.
Sharon?
I think, for the most part, the event center, the front part of it is finished. I know the offices have been finished out now, and we've dealt with some issues in the meeting area part. In the arena area, I know that the dirt is an issue, and that dirt has to be changed out depending on the equine event. Some depending on, I'm not a equine person, but I understand that some, like if you're doing general racing, it has to be a specific kind of dirt. If you're doing roping, it has to be a specific kind of dirt. If you're, they all need different kinds of dirt. So the issues that we have are getting that dirt supply. We also have issues with equipment. We currently share some equipment with the ATV park, and that's kind of an issue because both places need it at the same time. We also have issues with labor to run that equipment. So I would like to see us figure out a way to, you know, maintain that dirt, however that works out. I know that Leslie Bruce knows a lot about that. So using resources like people like Leslie to figure out those problems in the city, you know, working through those issues is what we need to do. The stalls and the RV hookups would be hugely beneficial in marketing the event center.
Okay, part two, we go back to Marina. How would you propose funding these improvements?
You know, I would think so, you know, budgeting them, and I think maybe in the future, give, you know, depending on the economic development, maybe getting some help through them.
Okay, back to John, please.
I would think probably, since what you would gain off that would be tourism dollars, I would think that EDC could possibly help with that.
Josh?
Once we complete get back to stable on our budget, which we're fast approaching to get a balanced budget, and then we hope, since we've stripped the budget back to such a very essential, that we'll be able to come back in and backfill, whether it be for wages, backfill into those kind of extra things that we need to take care of. I feel that once we get to that point, that we would be able to go ahead and go in and be able to budget that in as normal. If an entity like EDC did want to help, of course, we'd always accept that, but I don't know necessarily if that's required at this time, but I do think that we will be able to get that done just in the general budget through the general fund.
Robert?
No, I agree with going through the general fund would be the best way to go, and if the EDC wanted to help out, then that'd be best.
Okay. Sharon? I will. Let me get back to you. How would you propose funding the improvements that you suggested?
Well, first off, this proposition has to pass. So you got to vote yes on the proposition. Once the proposition passes, what I think a lot of, there's sometimes confusion about how the EDC and the city work together. The EDC is part of the city, so those funds are to be utilized for things that we need. So working with EDC funding would be great in fixing some of these problems. And there are things that can be used on that. Look at your little sheet. It basically says, promote new and expanded business development. I mean, you can, the thing that's so vitally important about changing to a municipal development district is it's pretty generalized use of funds, whereas the Type A is extremely specific. So it really opens a lot of doors, and that EDC funding can definitely benefit the event center. Also, with the marketing and with bringing in overnight stays, hot taxes can be used for funding for these issues, and I think that that's something that we could look at to really benefit. They already use funding for some of the marketing, but I think that we could dig into the hot taxes a little bit more and find some ways to use that money.
Carrie?
We did, like I think we've all mentioned here earlier, we definitely need to vote yes on the upcoming economic development portion of our election that's coming up. That would take a great portion of availability funds that we could use for that, and we could use it for equine. We could use it for so many other things. I would be a little bit worried about using the hot tax. Well, I don't want to take any funds from any of the other organizations that are getting those right now, museum and library and those type of things. I think there's probably other areas that we can look into before we go into the hot tax. But definitely vote yes. That would help out a lot.
We had a hot tax event not long ago, and we had a gentleman come from the Hotel Association, and he explained to us all of the things that our hot taxes are to be used for, and it was extremely beneficial because the things that we have been using hot taxes for and that we thought we were supposed to be using the hot taxes for, we were really kind of, our eyes were opened at how we can utilize that money. And things that need to be coming out of the general fund need to come out of the general fund, but this is absolutely something that hot taxes could be utilized on. And hot taxes are hotel taxes, so if people are in the beds, then it's being created from the event center, then that's one of the questions that you have to ask to use that money on.
Okay. Okay, school, same thing. Ken, you're going to go first with the question. When we finish with you four, we'll come back for second part. What is your vision for the CISD campuses in 10 and 25 years to ensure they maintain pace with ever-changing needs of our students and faculty? Leslie Bruce is the author.
Well, the first thing that needs to be done is this facility that we're sitting in right now needs to be completely redone. And you can't do the inside until you do the outside. So let's start at the outside and work in. And then the existing temporary facilities that the school has, there's many ways of getting rid of those. I would suggest first that we fill out an application for FEMA grants, where right now you can't get a grant unless you fill it out and ask for it. The school facility just to the east of us, those two FEMA units are 5,900 square feet per unit. Double that, and you've got 11,000 for $3 million. It's not hard to come up with those figures.
Okay, Edwin?
Well, you know, there's quite a bit of building and stuff that needs to be repaired and stuff, but without going through the buildings and seeing where they are and stuff, you know, I really don't have an idea of exactly what needs to be done, but I'm willing to learn. And answer to Lindsay's question, I'm trying to get involved. All you got to do is elect me.
Tracy? I will. What is your vision for the CISD campuses in 10 and 25 years to ensure they maintain pace with the ever-changing needs of our students and faculty?
I would love to see the safe room, or the library slash safe room over at the elementary school to help relieve some of the crowding that we have over there. Here, like Ken, I would like to see those kids out of the portables under one roof here in the junior high.
Shelley?
I agree with Tracy and Edwin. I really would love to see the safe rooms. That was a big disappointment. That was something that I really hoped for all the campuses involved. I did, for the first time about 2 weeks ago, visit the portables, and I thought, goodness, you know, I kind of was sad about that. I would really love to see something else. On several levels, I feel like we may have kind of missed out on a few things being able to provide, but as long as we're renovating and taking care of what we have, I think we have a great future.
Okay. Second part of your question. Based on your response to the previous question, what is your understanding for how this can be funded with the current revenue sources available to CISD?
Well, I've mentioned this several times tonight, but I think the first thing we've got to do, if we want safe rooms, that those facilities that are 30 miles east are safe rooms. They're each one designed to handle, and they're monolithic buildings. They're designed to handle 200-mile-per-hour wind, which is greater than an F5 tornado. Funding, again, we've got to get loose on paperwork and request some of those grants. And go to Crockett, Texas, they've done the same thing with FEMA grants, only their facility will withstand 500 miles an hour winds. So those are available. We have money and fund balance that we could do a lot of that with and get started on it. There's one thing that just shocked the socks off me tonight, that the trustees did not have any input in the budget. How do you prepare to do something with next year if you don't know what you're doing? I don't understand that.
Edwin?
Well, I'm along the same line. You know, I think I would rather do things as we go along, make plans, and try to meet the needs, and maybe budget more money and do some building as we go along, rather than to go for a 30-year bond. There's a terrible lot of interest paid, and that's a terrible long time. I'd rather see us build as we go, and even if we had to increase the budget some, because we're going to pay a lot of taxes and a lot of interest over the period of time. And like I said, before that 30 years is up, why, what other needs are going to arise? And we don't know for sure how much we're going to grow and how much we're not going to grow. But I think we can meet the needs as we go along with careful planning. Of course, everybody has to get along and everybody has to be agreeable, and that's what we're saying we're for, is we're trying to do the very best thing for Childress. So, but like I said, I think with the funds help money and work in that area, that we can make some needed improvements and get out of the portables and address other needs as we need to.
Tracy?
Well, unfortunately, the only way we can increase the budget is to increase taxes. And yes, we've got extra money that we can start working on. It is my understanding on the FEMA that we didn't apply for it because there were no longer funds available. And maybe the next cycle, if we can get our application in soon enough, we can qualify. And maybe with that and with the funds that we can use of our own, we can get started on some of this. I don't know if it'll be enough, but we can at least knock out maybe a project or two.
Shelley? Yes, rebuttal, please.
Well, as I understand it, and I'm not privy to the amounts, but there's been some pretty sizable increase in the taxable tax base because of the high lines and stuff and the solar farms. So there's some increase coming in there that should automatically generate some money.
Rebuttal?
Unfortunately, I wish that was the case. Unfortunately, it's not. The way TEA works, we get X amount per child. So as your property taxes go up, your income from, your revenue from TEA goes down.
Thank you. Shelley?
You want to repeat the question?
I would love to. Based on your previous response to the question, what is your understanding for how this can be funded within the current revenue sources available to CISD?
One thing that I'm hearing, and I think I've become a fan of listen and learn, is I like the fact of supplying for grants. I'm not for sure, I'm not privy to that information. If we have in the past, that is something that I would definitely like to hear more about. The finance side of it would just be figuring out a way to make it work and us come together. I hate for anyone to have to pay higher taxes, but it may come down to that.
Okay. You have a vote? Yes. Ken?
Back to the grants, Shelley, thank you for that, to give me an opportunity to get back into this. The request was sent to the administration for all copies of grants submitted. The answer came back that none had been submitted. Now, to me, none doesn't just stop with 2017, 2016. It goes back. We have never submitted a grant to FEMA for safe buildings, because that's what we were told from the Freedom of Information Act. We have not. Thank you.
Shelley? Okay. Questions for just the mayors? Sharon, I believe you're first. It's a two-part question. What are your goals as mayor, and what do you feel would be the most important aspects of being the mayor? I am the author.
I have some notes on this. I'm going to find them so that I don't forget to say anything. Is my time already started? Okay. My goals as mayor are pretty simple. I want to lead our council to make the very best decisions for our community. As council members, we have to make hard decisions at times with little background information. It's challenging, and I want to be a good leader to make sure the council always has a firm understanding of what's in front of them. I'd like to see Childress with better road conditions, improved water plants and infrastructure. I want to have the best employees who enjoy their job and strive to do their very best every day. All of these goals take proper budgeting and planning, and there is currently a great working relationship with all of the council members to arrive at the best possible decision for our city. I want to continue those relationships and improve on what we are able to accomplish.
Carrie?
One of my goals is transparency. That has been an issue in the past. Like I said, mentioned before, I do believe that if we grant access for more people can stay informed on the issues that are at hand before the citizens, whether it be through video, through website, social media, those type of things. I think that is one thing that we need to look into. Our infrastructure is in bad shape. That does take funding. I understand that as well. Back during when I was a council member, we had some funding for some infrastructure for our water lines over the northeast. We were able to get that accomplished, and I do believe if we will look into that for some more funding through grants and those type of situations, we can improve that as well. It is hard to balance keeping your city employees happy as well as the taxpayers happy. We want to. You're not going to be able to make everyone happy. I understand that, and I'm sure all the council members understand that as well. But keeping an eye on our budget, we've had some really bad issues with that in the past. I do think our current manager is doing a wonderful job. I have no qualms with him, and I think he will do great in the future.
Thank you, Carrie. Last question. This goes to everyone. We start with John Preston. Do you have any conflicts of interest with your role on another local board, service position, or another conflict? If so, how would you address this conflict in your decision-making process?
I'm on a board that receives hotel motel tax. That's the Childress County Heritage Museum. I contacted our city attorney. He didn't see a problem with it. He contacted Texas Municipal League. I have also left a message for what's it in Austin that oversees the hotel motel tax money?
Texas Hotel Lodging Association.
I have called them to see that too. Thanks.
Josh?
I don't know if I said that to Steve. Steve didn't think that there was a problem.
I'm not aware of any conflicts whatsoever. I don't serve on any boards currently, so it shouldn't be an issue.
All right. Robert?
No conflicts.
No. Marina?
No conflict.
All right. Carrie?
Do you mind repeating the question?
I do not.
I'm sorry, I was wrong.
That's all right.
Do you have any conflicts of interest with your role on another local board, service position, or another conflict? If so, how would you address this conflict in your decision-making? And I may not have made this clear. This was a committee question.
No conflict.
Okay. Sharon?
Just read the question.
This is payback for all the questions I asked at City Council, isn't it? Okay. Do you have any conflicts of interest with your role on another local board, service position, or another conflict? If so, how would you address this conflict in your decision-making process?
Okay, well, I actually had a question asked of me yesterday at Rotary, and I think this is probably the best time to get this out there. Yesterday, I was asked if owning the newspaper was a conflict of interest with me serving on the City Council. And my answer was that the newspaper's role in the community is to bring you the news, and it's to bring the truth. Chris and I run our company with the utmost integrity. If we don't provide that through our newspaper, then we are not trusted, and then people don't buy the product. So we have to maintain those things at all times. Just to throw another thing out there is I'm not actually involved in the day-to-day planning of the newspaper and what goes in the newspaper, how the writing's done, how the advertising is done. I do most of our financial things. The conflict of interest, I think, with any one of us that might serve on the City Council, we are all kind of business owners, or Robert's on the fire department. I mean, you could kind of bring a conflict of interest, but in a small town, we're all working for the betterment of our community. So I think the fact that we're willing to put ourselves out there and serve in this capacity, I don't feel that me owning the newspaper is a conflict of being on the City Council, and that's my opinion. As far as any other conflicts on serving on any other boards, I don't have a conflict at all with making decisions for the best for Childress.
Edwin?
No conflict.
Tracy?
No conflict.
Shelley?
No conflict, verified no conflict, and if I ever had a conflict, I would abstain from voting.
Ken?
No conflicts.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your attention.